They look like treasures, sold as sapphire, jade, and ruby, but behind the glow something was missing. No mine, no traceable source, and no value once the surface was tested. These are the stones that fooled collectors, broke auctions, and vanished from fine jewelry. After the truth came out, they shine like diamonds. They glow like emeralds. Some were sold as heirlooms, others passed as discoveries, but none of them were what they seemed. For decades, the global gemstone trade has operated on three pillars: appearance, origin, and trust. But what happens when one of those pillars collapses? In this episode, we trace 10 stones that fooled buyers, dealers, even auction houses, until science, fracture lines, and time revealed the truth. Some were made in labs, others were manipulated underground. A few were never stones to begin with. They all looked valuable. They all sold like they were rare. And today they sit in drawers, display cases, and market stalls around the world. Misunderstood, misrepresented, and mostly worthless. This is the story of 10 gemstones that look precious, but aren't. Top 10. Quartz crystal with heat-treated color. What looks like a perfect violet amethyst or a sea blue aquamarine is often something far more ordinary. Common quartz, pulled from the earth in bulk, then heated to shift its color. And when done well, it fools even seasoned jewelers. Not every shimmer in the gem world comes from rarity. Some are born in a furnace, controlled, deliberate, and easily repeated. Among these, a few stones mislead the eye, quite like heat-treated quartz. Let's start at the source. Quartz is everywhere. From Brazil's Minas Gerais to Arkansas, USA, and across the Alps of Switzerland, quartz is one of the most abundant minerals on Earth. In its natural form, it's clear, hard, and hexagonal in structure. Nothing fancy, nothing rare. But heat it to the right temperature, and something strange happens. At 300 to 500 degrees Celsius, internal lattice distortions shift light absorption. What was once colorless may turn yellow, pink, or even green. In other cases, iron impurities realign, creating rich purples indistinguishable visually from amethyst. And in extreme heat scenarios, over 900 degrees Celsius, a transparent quartz cluster can morph into an intense burnt orange resembling topaz. But here's the trade-off. These colors aren't stable. Many fade in sunlight. Others shift over time. Unlike natural colored stones, they carry no geological record, no provenance, and no premium. Mining is basic. Most quartz used for treatment is extracted mechanically in open pit operations. No deep shafts, no rarity-driven risk. 1 cubic meter of quartz-bearing rock can yield kilograms of usable material. In countries like India, Madagascar, and parts of China, untreated quartz is stockpiled by the ton, ready for global heat treatment centers. Once processed, these stones flood markets, especially in price-sensitive jewelry sectors. You'll see them labeled as amethyst quartz, aqua quartz, or even natural quartz, a term that often misleads buyers into believing the color is natural too. Shape-wise, most are faceted into standard ovals, rounds, and emerald cuts. This symmetry enhances the illusion of value, but behind the brilliance, it's still mass-market quartz, worth just a few dollars per carat, even less in bulk. To the untrained eye, these stones radiate luxury, but to a gemologist, they're the most transparent case of optical deception in the jewelry world. So why include it in this list? Because quartz with heat-induced beauty is a lesson. Value isn't always in the color or the sparkle, but in the story behind the stone. Top 9. Opalite, the fake crystal that outsold real quartz. Walk into a crystal shop, and you'll see it glowing under soft white lights. Smooth, glassy, almost lunar. They call it opalite. It sells well. It photographs even better. But it's not opal, and it's not a gemstone. Opalite is a marketing term. It doesn't refer to a mineral or even a glass with gem history. It relates to artificial material, usually resin-based plastic or opalized glass, produced in factories, then polished and sold under names that suggest natural origin. Its origin, not geological, it comes from injection molds, synthetic pigment batches, and bulk resin vats. Most of what's labeled opalite today is produced in China, India, in parts of Eastern Europe. These operations don't matter. They manufacture using polymer plastics or silicate glass fused with metal oxides to mimic the hazy, iridescent look of opal or moonstone. No tectonic pressure, no volcanic activity, just factory chemistry. Under light, opalite shows a blue sheen, a type of optical effect called pseudo-opalescence. It's engineered, not evolved. In natural stones like opal or moonstone, this glow is caused by complex silica layering or feldspar diffraction. In opalite, the surface polish, pigment layering, and artificial fluorescence are notable features. And the price? A large palm stone retails for around $3 to $7. Pendants go for under $10. In wholesale markets, the price per kilo can fall below $1.50, making it cheaper than many natural rocks used for landscaping. Why does it sell? Because it looks spiritual, because it responds well to lighting, because it feels like it belongs in the world of gems. Even experienced collectors have confused opalite with milky quartz, rainbow moonstone, or common opal. But test it, thermally, structurally, optically, and the truth is clear. It's soft, often porous, lacks cleavage, and doesn't register on the Mohs scale above 3.5, meaning even a copper coin can leave a mark. There's also no crystal lattice, no inclusions under the microscope, no geographic fingerprint. It's not found, it's poured. From an investment standpoint, opalite has zero long-term value. Gemological institutions do not recognize it, not used in high jewelry and not appraised in certified auctions. Labeling it as natural opal is considered a misrepresentation in many countries. Still, it fills a market. Opalite appeals to aesthetics. It plays a role in gift shops, light therapy spaces, TikTok spirituality, and beginner collections. But in professional gemology, it is not listed among minerals. It holds no rank among semi-precious stones, and it carries no resale value. So why does it matter? In a market where appearance often dictates price, plastic can appear precious, yet no one questions the difference. And for collectors who care about origin, structure, or authenticity, that difference is everything. Top 8. Goldstone. The glittering glass mistaken for a gem. But Goldstone is not a gemstone. It is industrial-era glass. And yet, for over a century, it has appeared in catalogs, showcases, and even auction lots, misrepresented, renamed, and resold. Let's strip it back. Goldstone is made from molten glass, fused with copper flakes or other metallic crystals during cooling. The process requires precise temperature control. If cooled too slowly or unevenly, the copper oxidizes and turns black. Too fast and the crystals don't form. When done right, it creates that signature metallic sparkle, mimicking aventurescence, the optical shimmer found in real sunstone or Aventurine feldspar. This technique was refined in 17th century Venice in Murano glass workshops. But what started as a decorative glass art soon blurred the lines. By the 20th century, Goldstone pieces were showing up in mineral collections, mislabeled as natural sunstone or Aventurine from India. Some were mounted in silver settings and sold at luxury booths. Others were passed to spiritual markets, labeled energy stones, enhanced sunstones, or even fire crystals. The trick wasn't the material, it was the framing. Sellers would claim rarity, point to sparkle as proof of quality. Some went further, adding micro-inclusions, rough backing, or natural matrix stone around the polished goldstone to simulate geology. Even respected dealers fell into the trap. In the early 1990s, several museum catalogs in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia listed goldstone cabochons as volcanic glass with metallic growths. Lab tests later showed zero crystalline lattice, no natural formation zones, no thermal zoning, just soda-lime glass with copper microcrystals. Modern factories, particularly in Jiangsu, China, and northern Italy, produce goldstone in slabs, rods, and beads. They also offer blue, green, and purple variants using cobalt, chromium, and manganese to shift the color. From there, it enters the global market. Jewelry chains are bought by the kilogram. Online sellers rebrand it with euphemisms, and in some cases, Unscrupulous workshops glue thin slices of goldstone onto natural quartz or chalcedony, creating composite stones that appear authentic. In professional gemology, goldstone has no classification. It's not listed under quartz, feldspar, or any known mineral group. It cannot be certified, and its resale value is tied only to craftsmanship, not to geology. But here's the issue. Once it's cut, set, and given a new name, it passes. At gem shows across Europe and North America, buyers with no access to advanced testing still confuse goldstone with aventurine feldspar, especially under warm light. And with rising demand for metaphysical stones, many buyers accept appearance over origin. Goldstone proves one thing. With the right polish and a clever name, glass can become a gemstone, at least long enough to sell. Top 7. Agate, the stone that got its beauty from a bottle. There was a time when this stone-lit display cases, bright green, electric blue, deep crimson, polished, vibrant, affordable, and completely fake. Dye-injected agate was once marketed as a colorful alternative to ruby, emerald, and even tourmaline. It looked exotic, it looked rare, but it was mass-produced using one of the oldest tricks in gem treatment, chemical dye infusion. Agate itself is real, a microcrystalline form of quartz found across Brazil, India, and Uruguay. Naturally, it's pale, often translucent, with soft banding. But when heated and soaked in chemical dyes, its porous structure absorbs color deep into the stone. To the untrained eye, the result looks natural. But under magnification, or a simple acetone test, the truth bleeds out. In the 1990s and early 2000s, dyed agates flooded the global market. Jewelers praised their color. Retailers labeled them green onyx, cherry quartz, or blue tourmaline agate. For a while it worked. Prices rose. Demand spread. But then came the lab tests. Gemological institutes flagged inconsistencies. UV exposure revealed unstable coloring. Buyers began to notice fading, bleeding, and, worse, misrepresentation. The market responded fast. Major gem shows banned dyed agates from certified showcases. Retail chains quietly pulled products. Exporters reclassified them as decorative stones, not gemstones. Within 5 years, a once booming product category was blocked by collectors, ignored by high-end designers, and devalued by over 80%. Today, dyed agate still sells, but mostly in low-cost bracelets, souvenir keychains, and bulk craft supplies. In auctions and museums, it holds no place. In investment-grade jewelry, it's completely absent. The lesson? When color sells better than origin, the market pays the price later. Top 6. Synthetic Spinel, the lab gem once mistaken for sapphire. It appeared in antique rings, in military medals, in heirloom brooches handed down for generations. For decades, people believed it was sapphire, or ruby, or something ancient. But it wasn't ancient. It wasn't even mined. It was synthetic spinel, mass-produced in laboratories since the 1920s. Developed using the flame fusion method, synthetic spinel was designed to imitate everything. Blue sapphire, pink tourmaline, violet amethyst, even aquamarine. It's chemically stable, cheap to grow, and extremely hard to distinguish with the naked eye. By the 1930s, it had flooded the global jewelry trade, especially in Europe and North America. During wartime and post-war scarcity, it was marketed as Verneuil sapphire, military-grade ruby, or worse, recovered antique gem. No documentation, no origin, just brilliance, hardness, and color. Pawn shops took them in as family heirlooms. Catalogs listed them as genuine corundum. Many pieces still circulate in estate auctions today. Untested, misnamed, and overvalued. But the reality is simple. Synthetic spinel was never rare. It was never ancient, and its production continues quietly in labs from Thailand to Russia, China to Switzerland, at a cost of mere cents per carat. So how did it fool the market? Because synthetic spinel doesn't look fake. It doesn't bubble like glass. It doesn't chip like plastic. Under magnification, it shows growth lines, just like genuine crystals. And unless you run refractive index tests or spectroscopy, it passes as natural to most buyers. Today, major gem labs reject it from certification entirely. Museums have relabeled dozens of historical pieces. Auction houses require lab reports before accepting any sapphire that isn't traceable. Yet online marketplaces still list synthetic Spinel as vintage gems, and collectors still find them in antique settings, believing the story until the stone is tested. In gemology, age doesn't equal authenticity, and lab-grown doesn't always look modern. Synthetic Spinel proves one thing: even fakes, when old enough, can pass for history until science catches up. Top 5. Glass-filled. Ruby, the stone that shattered under heat. To the eye, it looked flawless. Blood red, vivid, transparent, and priced like a natural Burmese ruby. But when heat touched the stone, it cracked. When placed in an ultrasonic cleaner, it shattered. This wasn't ruby in its proper form. It was red glass-filled ruby, a low-grade corundum filled with high lead glass to mask its flaws. The method was simple but deceptive. Start with fractured, cloudy ruby, unsellable in high-end markets. Inject it with lead glass under pressure and heat. The fractures vanish. Light passes through, and suddenly a $5 stone looks like $5,000. By the mid-2000s, these stones began appearing in international auctions, often mislabeled as heat-treated ruby. Dealers bought them, buyers wore them, jewelers set them in platinum rings. And then the problem started. Clients returned with cracked stones, damaged by steam cleaning, resizing, or soldering. Under lab inspection, the truth was undeniable. The red was ruby. The clarity was glass. In 2004, Gem Labs in Bangkok and New York flagged the issue. By 2008, high-end auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's issued internal memos halting acceptance of rubies without complete lab reports. And by 2010, lawsuits had emerged claiming fraud, misrepresentation, and monetary loss. The scandal reshaped policy. The Gemological Institute of America, GIA, began disclosing glass-filled status on reports. Sellers were forced to drop terms like enhanced ruby or treated ruby. Retailers in the US and the EU faced strict labeling laws. Market value collapsed. A glass-filled ruby that once fetched thousands was now worth less than $50. Unsold inventory flooded into budget markets, on cruise ships, in duty-free shops, and online platforms with no gem control. Even today, many buyers don't know. These stones still show up in vintage rings, mislabeled lots, and discount jewelry. But professionals remember. And in the world of gem auctions, glass-filled rubies are now banned unless disclosed, and even then, avoided. Because when a stone shatters a deal, it doesn't get a second chance. Top 4. Fused quartz. The lab glass sold as natural crystal. When it first appeared, it made headlines. Breakthrough clarity. New generation quartz. Next-level brilliance for the conscious buyer. The stone was flawless. No inclusions, no zoning, no cloudiness. Sold under names like Sky Aquamarine or Optical Crystal Topaz, it promised natural elegance at a fraction of the price. But beneath the shine, something was off. The gem was fused quartz, not grown but melted. Ordinary silica sand or low-grade quartz was heated to over 1,700 degrees Celsius, then re-solidified into an apparent glassy mass. Cut it, polish it, and you have a stone that looks like high-grade quartz or beryl, but without any geological structure. At first, retailers embraced it. Eco-friendly, affordable, clean aesthetics. Some brands marketed it as lab-purified natural crystal. Jewelry lines incorporated it into rings and pendants. Designers praised its purity beyond nature. For a moment it worked, but then came the tests. Gem Labs began reporting strange anomalies. The refractive index didn't match quartz. No crystal lattice under polarized light. No piezoelectric response. No birefringence. No trace elements are typical of natural growth zones. It wasn't quartz. It was synthetic silica glass, chemically similar, structurally empty. By 2013, several labs, including the GIA and Swiss Gemological Institute, began rejecting these stones from certification. Retailers faced pressure to remove vague terms like optical topaz. Some collections were quietly pulled from stores. Others were reclassified as fashion material, with no gemological standing. Today, fused quartz is still widely used, but in optics, semiconductors, UV lenses, and industrial equipment. In the jewelry world, it's relegated to budget costume lines. Its initial promise, next generation gemstone, is gone. And for collectors who bought early, hoping for innovation or appreciation, there's no resale, no history, no provenance, just a clear piece of melted sand. The lesson? Not every flawless stone is a discovery. Some are just rebranded until someone checks. Top 3. Green Aventurine, the common stone. Mistaken for jade. It's been passed down as jade, set in rings called heirlooms, framed in silver, worn at weddings. For generations, it was believed to be a natural treasure. But it wasn't jade, it wasn't emerald. It was green aventurine, a translucent quartz with glittering inclusions, mistaken for something far more valuable. The confusion wasn't accidental. In markets across India, China, and Russia, aventurine was sold under names like Indian jade, green quartzite, or emerald stone. The shimmer, caused by tiny flakes of fuchsite mica, mimicked the optical glow of authentic jadeite or chrome diopside. To the naked eye, it passed. To the hopeful buyer, it was impressive. And in many families, it was treasured without ever being tested. The material itself is abundant. Mined in bulk from Karnataka, India, Brazil, and Tibet, green aventurine forms in low-pressure quartz veins. It's durable enough to be carved, soft enough to be polished, and visually close enough to jade that for decades it blurred the line. By the mid-20th century, it had become a global product. Beads, bangles, pendants, even carved figurines, all labeled as natural jade. Some were sold in tourist markets. Others were passed off as pre-revolutionary Chinese heirlooms or Russian trade emeralds. But gemology advanced. When samples were brought to modern labs, results came quickly. No crystal structure of jadeite, no sodium-aluminum matrix, no optical birefringence. Instead, quartz, with mica flakes and zero rarity. The disappointment hit quietly. Collectors stopped bidding, appraisers rewrote descriptions, and family treasures became costume jewelry overnight. Today, green aventurine is still mined and sold, but labeled clearly. It's appreciated for what it is, an accessible ornamental stone, used in carvings, beadwork, and sometimes wellness products. But it's no longer accepted in jade auctions, investment portfolios, or historical gem classifications. And yet, across drawers and lockboxes around the world, it still sits, framed in rings, set in bangles, carried as jade. Not because it fooled experts, but it became part of a story that lasted longer than the truth. Top 2, plastic opalite. Marketed as healing, exposed as plastic. It was sold as a stone of calm, a bridge to lunar energy, a healing crystal for emotional balance. But no lab ever certified it. No geological record ever placed it on Earth. And no mineral database recognizes it. Because opalite, for all its glow, isn't a gemstone. It's plastic, or glass, or both. And it entered the wellness market without passing a single scientific test. Most opalite sold today is resin-based polymer, sometimes mixed with silicate glass and metallic oxides. It's artificial, mass-produced, and cheap to manufacture, as little as 30 cents per piece in bulk. Yet it's promoted under influential labels: Moonstone Energy, Third Eye Amplifier, Emotional Detox Crystal. On social media, it's placed beside labradorite and amethyst. In shops, it's priced higher than natural quartz. And in nearly every case, no one discloses the truth. The glow of opalite comes from surface interference and light diffusion through the plastic base, not any natural optical structure. There's no crystalline lattice, no trace minerals, no geological origin. Despite this, from 2015 onward, opalite surged on Etsy, TikTok, and spiritual crystal shops. Buyers believed they were purchasing natural opal or a rare moonstone variety. Some practitioners prescribed it for meditation, aura cleansing, or sleep regulation. None of these uses was backed by material analysis. And worse, when tested for heat, UV exposure, or durability, many opalite stones showed surface peeling, yellowing, or complete structural failure. Gemological labs took a clear position. Opalite is not a gemstone. It is not eligible for certification. It holds no standing in crystal therapy under verified mineralogy. Still, it sells because it's pretty, because it photographs well, because belief fills the gap where science is silent. But for collectors, jewelers, or serious practitioners, the distinction matters. A healing stone with no mineral base, it's just an object with meaning you bring to it, not one it carries itself. Top 1. Cubic Zirconia, the diamond lookalike rejected by luxury jewelers. It sparkles like a diamond. It flashes with fire. And under showroom lights, it fools almost everyone. But not the trade, not the labs, not the auction houses. Because in the world of fine jewelry, cubic zirconia is permanently excluded. CZ was first synthesized in the 1970s, hailed as a low-cost diamond alternative. It has high dispersion, near-perfect clarity, and can be cut in ideal proportions. In photos, it outshines many real stones. To the casual buyer, it's glamorous. To professionals, it's non-negotiable. Why? Because it's not rare. It's not durable long-term. And it carries zero provenance, no mine, no country, no story. Cubic zirconia is created in furnaces, using zirconium oxide and stabilizers like yttrium or calcium. Each crystal can be grown in under a week at an industrial scale. It has no inclusion pattern, no trace element signature, and no variation. The very things gemologists use to assess authenticity. And worse, CZ degrades. Unlike diamond, CZ is softer, ranking 8 to 8.5 on the Mohs scale. It scratches, it dulls over time. Under heat or repeated cleaning, it can even develop surface clouding. These traits make it unacceptable for high-end settings, legacy pieces, or investment jewelry. By the 1990s, top jewelry houses, Cartier, Van Cleef, Harry Winston, officially banned CZ from all collections. Auction giants like Sotheby's and Christie's refused to accept any lot containing CZ unless declared as costume. The GIA does not grade CZ. And insurance appraisers classify it as non-gem material, not eligible for long-term valuation. Still, CZ sells by the millions. Engagement rings, travel jewelry, fast fashion. It thrives in markets where appearance matters more than permanence. But in the fine jewelry world, there is no second chance. A piece set with CZ cannot be upgraded, cannot be revalued, cannot be reclassified. It is permanently disqualified. Cubic zirconia taught the industry a hard truth. Not all brilliance belongs in legacy, and not every sparkle deserves a setting. In the end, brilliance alone doesn't make a gemstone, not if the story behind it can't hold up to scrutiny. From cubic zirconia to dyed agate, from lab glass rubies to synthetic spinel set in heirloom rings. Each of these stones reminds us that value is never just about appearance. It's about geology, traceability, and truth. Markets change, trends fade, but in gemology, what remains is this. The most dangerous stones are the ones that look too perfect to question.